Let's talk about the most complex and powerful machine you will ever own. Your brain. Seriously, it's the command center for everything you do, think, and feel. But how much do you actually know about what's going on up there? Well, let's start by tackling a huge myth.
I bet you've heard this one, right? It's in movies, it's all over the place. The idea that 90% of this incredible organ is just sitting there, unused, waiting to be unlocked so we can get superpowers or something. But is there any truth to that? Nope, not even close. This is probably one of the biggest myths in popular psychology, and it's totally busted. Brain imaging, things like fMRIs, they show us that pretty much your entire brain is active almost all the time. Even when you're fast asleep, your brain is working hard, sorting through memories and basically running the whole show. The reality is you're using the whole thing.
And if you need more proof, check this out. Your brain is a total resource hog. It only makes up about 2% of your body's weight, which is tiny, but it devours a whopping 20% of your oxygen and calories. That right there tells you just how hard your brain is working, 24/7, to keep everything running smoothly.
Okay, so if we're using the whole brain, then what are all the different parts actually doing? To figure that out, let's meet the executive team that's running the show up there. Think of this as the high-level tour of your own personal headquarters.
So first up, we've got the cerebellum. That's the big, wrinkly part you always see in pictures. It's your thinker. It handles stuff like language, problem-solving, and your memories. Then, tucked underneath, is the cerebellum, kind of like the athlete of the group, making sure all your movements are smooth and coordinated. And finally, connecting it all to your body is the brainstem. That's your life support, handling all the critical things you don't even have to think about, like breathing and your heartbeat.
And the cerebrum and cerebellum are an awesome team. For example, let's say you want to kick a soccer ball. Your cerebrum, the thinker, makes the decision. I'm going to kick that ball. But it's your cerebellum, the athlete, that calculates the timing, the precision, and the balance to make sure you actually connect with the ball instead of just, falling over your own feet. One is the strategist, the other is the master of execution.
Now let's zoom in on a really important part of the cerebrum, the frontal lobe. It's right behind your forehead. And if your brain were a company, this part would be the CEO. Seriously. It's in charge of all the executive functions, planning ahead, making tough calls, controlling your impulses, and it's a huge part of what makes up your personality.
And a really famous case from history shows this perfectly. It's the wild story of a guy named Phineas Gage. Back in 1848, he was a railroad foreman who had this absolutely horrific accident. An explosion sent a huge iron rod shooting straight through his head, and it destroyed a big chunk of his left frontal lobe. Miraculously, he survived, but he wasn't the same person at all.
His friends famously said that Gage was no longer Gage. The calm, responsible guy they all knew and respected was just gone. Instead, he became impulsive and profane. It was one of the first real cases that showed such a clear link between a specific part of the brain and the very core of someone's personality.
Okay, so we've seen the big structures. Now let's zoom way in, to the micro level, and look at the cells that make up the brain's own biological internet. Let's talk about neurons. Get ready for this number. Your brain contains around 100 billion of these tiny messengers. That's more than 12 times the number of people on planet Earth. Each and every one is like a tiny processor, and they all work together to create every single thought, memory, and action you have. So, how do 100 billion cells talk to each other? Well, it happens through this amazing electrochemical dance. First, an electrical signal zips down one neuron. When it gets to the very end, that triggers the release of these special chemicals. Those chemicals jump across a tiny gap to the next neuron, which picks them up and, boom, fires its own electrical signal. It's this incredible chain reaction of electricity and chemistry that makes everything in your brain happen.
And this chain reaction is mind-blowingly fast. Information can blast through these neural networks at speeds of up to 250 miles per hour. That's faster than a supercar. It's the reason you can pull your hand away from a hot stove before you even consciously realize, hey, that's hot.
So we've got these big structures and these super fast messengers. But here's where it gets really exciting. This whole system, it isn't fixed. You can actually change it. This is all thanks to a concept called neuroplasticity. And honestly, it changes everything we thought we knew about the brain.
Neuroplasticity is simply the brain's ability to adapt and change by creating new pathways and letting old, unused ones fade away. For the longest time, scientists thought the brain was basically hardwired after you grew up. But now we know it's plastic, meaning it's moldable, for your entire life.
Here's a great way to picture it. Think about learning something brand new, like trying to play a new chord on a guitar or figuring out a tough math problem. The first time you do it, it's like you're hacking a brand new path through a dense forest. You create this faint little trail. That's a new neural connection. It's there, but it's weak and super easy to lose.
But what happens when you practice? Well, you walk that same path again and again and again. That path gets wider, clearer, and eventually it's no longer a dirt path, it's a paved superhighway. The skill becomes automatic. You've strengthened that neural connection so much that your brain just defaults to it. And this isn't just for learning guitar. This is how all of our habits, both good and bad, get formed.
So knowing all this incredible stuff, the big question is, how do we take care of our command center? Let's go over the essential maintenance tips from the owner's manual.
The fundamentals are actually pretty straightforward. You got to feed it well, with things like healthy fats and antioxidants. Get moving. Physical exercise keeps the blood flowing up there. Give it about 8 hours of sleep a night so it can recharge and clean house. And keep it active. Puzzles, reading, always learning new things. And of course, you have to protect it. Wear a helmet. Remember Phineas Gage and that CEO? The frontal lobe? It's right at the front, and it's vulnerable.
So if there's one big takeaway today, it's this. Your brain isn't just something that happens to you, it's something you can actively shape and improve every single day. Through your actions and your thoughts, you are literally the architect of your own mind. You have the power to build new superhighways in your head. So the only question left is, what new road will you build first?